In the hangar on the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, the Master of the Order Mace Windu had just learnt of a terrible truth. The Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker had revealed to him that Chancellor Palpatine was a Sith Lord, and the Council's worst fears had been confirmed. Entering a gunship with fellow Council members Agen Kolar, Saesee, Tinn and Fisto, the Jedi were confident of success as they approached, then entered the Chancellor's office. Igniting their lightsabers in front of the Sith Lord, Palpatine summons his lightsaber into his hand and battles the Jedi. Windu watches as the 3 other council members quickly fell at the Sith Lord's blade, but he refused to let the Jedi Order fall. The 2 master duelists engage in a ferocious duel until Windu disarmed Palpatine and shattered the large window. Pointing his lightsaber at Palpatine's throat, Windu is stopped by the arriving Anakin. The Jedi Knight decided he needed Palpatine to save his dying wife Padme Amidala, and after Palpatine had failed to kill Windu with his lightning attack, Anakin sliced off Windu's hand, allowing Palpatine to send the Jedi Master to his death. But what if Mace Windu survived, then trained Ahsoka Tano? How would his survival change the future of the Jedi? As you will find out, Windu's survival could have changed the fate of the galaxy. As the Jedi Master blocked the ferocious Force lightning attack, his lightsaber began to bend, and he pleaded with Anakin to not listen to Palpatine, but there was no response. Windu was paying the price for his frequent disdain of Skywalker, until the lightning attack stopped. The Sith Lord cackled as he lured Windu into a killing strike, leaving him open from Anakin's blade. Windu felt a great wave of pain as his hand fell into the depths of Coruscant, then his body was engulfed with Sith lightning. Unable to use his lightsaber to defend himself, Windu began to fall. Clattering into several passing speeders, the Jedi Master came to a stop in one of the alleyways, buried amongst the buildings. All of his limbs were in pain, but nothing hurt as much as his pride. Scooping up the remains of his lightsaber, Windu crawled along the ground, looking for shelter, until he sensed another great wave of pain in the Force. Gazing into the skies, Windu saw dozens of Republic gunships floating in the air, and he realised the Jedi had been betrayed by the clones. Windu's eyes narrowed in determination, and he found an old speeder nearby, vanishing towards the underworld. Even without the use of one of his hands, Windu was able to descend to the lower levels, avoiding the clones. The Jedi Master was able to find safety, where most of his fellow Jedi could not, but they had all lost the war to the Sith. Walking into a nearby bar, Windu began the darkest period of his life. The former Jedi Master was limited to performing menial jobs, and easy work as a bounty hunter, earning enough to install a prosthetic hand. But as the new Empire began to increase its stranglehold on Coruscant, Windu could sense them closing in, and he needed to escape. Taking a speeder once again, Windu was fortunate that a group of Imperial officers were patrolling the area, as that meant a ship had been abandoned. Running around the perimeter of the level, Windu is spotted, but he used the Force to choke them all, and take their ship. As he rose into the atmosphere above, he was able to make it out of Coruscant, and avoid being detected. Windu was unsure of where to go, but he found the Force calling for him to go to the Outer Rim. Eventually approaching the planet of Thebeska, Windu froze as he saw an Imperial blockade hovering right above the planet, but the Force was imploring him to go. The small Imperial shuttle went straight for the massive fleet, and without a clearance code, Windu was shot down to the surface below. The Jedi Master was experienced with falling, and this time it was into a small swamp. Through the mud, Windu saw Imperial troopers taking every piece of territory, until they were suddenly pushed back. Windu looked up and saw to his shock the distinctive figure of former Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano running to a ship. Windu uses Force speed in pursuit and clings onto the back of the ship as it took off into space. Finding a way in, Windu slowly approaches Ahsoka, but the Togruta senses his presence. Turning to meet Windu, it was as if she was staring at a ghost, and she asked the former Jedi where he needed to go. Windu meditated for a while, until he chose the planet of Alderaan, not hearing of any Imperial activity on the planet. On the journey, Windu apologizes for his mistakes regarding Ahsoka and Anakin, but Ahsoka is not interested. The presence of another Jedi was a danger, and Windu had to leave. The Karoo Master could sense the coldness emanating from Ahsoka and offered to train her, completing what her master could not. Ahsoka is tempted, and accepts the offer as she knew Windu was not a Jedi anymore and a new stage of her journey had begun. The two former Jedi landed outside the royal palace of Alderaan, with the guards pointing their blasters towards the ship. Windu and Ahsoka walked down the ramp, and they all immediately lowered their weapons at the calling of Bail Organa. The Senator of Alderaan bowed to the arriving allies, and he is grateful for their assistance, beckoning them to his palace. Organa informs the two Force users of what had happened in their absence, and they are shocked to learn of numerous Jedi survivors, including Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Yoda. Also, Organa details events on Polis Massa and the birth of Luke and Leia Skywalker, whom the Jedi deemed to be their hopes of restoring the Order. But neither have any interest in visiting the Jedi for now, as Windu feels shame from his failure to defeat the Sith, and they needed a place to remain safe. However, as soon as they stepped back outside, an Imperial cruiser loomed overhead, and Alderaan was in danger. Out of the cruiser, several Imperial dropship transports emerged, each carrying a battalion of stormtroopers and an Inquisitor. As the Empire touched upon the surface, Windu and Ahsoka helped the rebels escape into the nearby woods, whilst they dealt with the threats. Without their lightsabers, they grab nearby staffs and impale a few unsuspecting stormtroopers, then take their blasters. Soon, however, the Inquisitors surround them, and even with their superior skill, the former Jedi have to defend from the double-ended spinning lightsabers. Using the Force, Ahsoka disarms one of the Inquisitors and takes his blade, whilst Windu uses his Shatterpoint ability to destroy two Inquisitors and take their blades. Pointing the lightsabers at one of the survivors, he demanded to know the identity of their master. The Inquisitor stays silent, and Windu invades her mind, finding a strangely familiar man in a mask by the name of Lord Vader. Slicing the Inquisitor into two, Windu and Ahsoka help to clear the area, but Alderaan was no longer safe for the former Jedi. Bail Organa guides them to his cruiser, and decides now is the time to reveal the location of Obi-Wan. The Senator activated his holoprojector, and the distressed Obi-Wan shimmered into view. The Jedi Master was visibly pleased to see Ahsoka and Windu, but was reluctant for their presence, as they could bring the Empire. After a short period of meditation, Obi-Wan allowed them to join him, as his solitude was driving him into insanity, and there needed to be more protection for Luke. Taking one of the Imperial shuttles that had been left behind, Windu and Ahsoka travel to Tatooine, and land in Mos Eisley, where the town is in a dire state. A recent drought had deprived the moisture farmers of their income, and Jabba the Hutt had not improved the situation by taking more money through heavy taxes. As a result, the Jedi received glares from the residents as they trudged out into the deserts. With the remaining credits of Windu, they purchase a speeder, then feel the Force calling them to the Dune Sea. Eventually, they see the small hut belonging to Obi-Wan in the Jutland Wastes, but are surrounded by a group of Tusken Raiders. Igniting their new lightsabers, Windu and Ahsoka slayed the entire clan and found a disapproving Obi-Wan. Beckoning them into his hut, the Jedi Master reveals the role assigned to him by Yoda in protecting Anakin's other child. Windu and Ahsoka wonder why Luke has not been trained, and Obi-Wan is wary of the last homestead, having been rejected on multiple occasions. Windu is not fazed, and took the speeder to the last home, where Owen sees the terrifying Windu. The former Jedi lifts Owen into the air with the Force, and deposits him to the side, taking the nearby Luke, unknown to Beru, who had been outside. Travelling back to Obi-Wan's hut, the Sorosu Masters distressed at how Windu had retaken Luke. Over the following years, the two Jedi Masters continue Ahsoka's training, and begin Luke's, and at the same time, they set about liberating Tatooine. The Jedi succeed in breaking some of Jabba's control over the planet, but they receive an emergency message from Bail Organa that the Empire was heading their way, and it was time to join Leia's rebellion. The four Force users travel to Mos Eisley, seeking a ship for their travels, until they see an Imperial probe droid hidden behind a group of droids. Ahsoka slices it into two, but it is too late, as their presence had been detected, and stormtroopers surround them. The Jedi slowly walk to the closest dock, and then simultaneously force push all of the stormtroopers out of the way, before making their escape to the ship of Bail Organa, knowing they were now wanted by the Empire. It was time for the Empire to pay for what they had done to the Jedi. The new recruits to the Rebel Alliance stood around a hollow table, and with the new superweapon called the Death Star still incomplete, the rebels had to strike soon. Bail Organa uses a secret line of transmission and transfers a signal to every rebel cell, requesting their presence for a full attack on the Empire. As they awaited the arrival of the Allies, Leia received another transmission from the revolutionaries on the planet of Lothal, reporting that Vader had been sent to deal with them. The Force wielders aboard knew they had to apprehend the Sith apprentice, and they hide themselves in a small freighter to try and get through the inevitable blockade. As they approach the planet, however, their attempts to hide their Force presence cannot bypass the life scanners, and their cover is blown. The ship is drawn in by an Imperial cruiser, and the Force users ignite their blades. Warding off the station troopers, Luke and Obi-Wan manage to take an Imperial shuttle, and they descend to the surface below. The group land on the grassy plains, but are quickly surrounded by an entire army. Out of one of the lines of squadrons emerged Darth Vader, and Ahsoka nearly collapsed as she sensed remnants of Anakin Skywalker. Recovering to bravely ignite her blade, along with the others, they lure the stormtroopers into a nearby hill, and the Empire are forced to split up. One by one, the stormtroopers began to fall, and Vader intervenes. Dueling Luke first, the power of the Jedi is intriguing to Vader, and if turned to the dark side, he could be a powerful ally. But Luke was no match, and as Vader was about to deal a fatal blow, Windu leapt in to block with his blade. When Vader had seen Windu, he had not believed the Jedi Master had survived the fall on Coruscant, but now in a duel, the Vapad style was one which could not be mistaken. Vader tried to use his power to hack away Windu's strikes, but his suit meant he could not keep up with Windu's unpredictable moves, and the Sith toppled to the ground. Vader wheezed as Windu pointed his lightsaber at his mask, then slashed it, unveiling a face of terror. As the battle outside fell to a standstill, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan and Luke surrounded the broken Vader, and Luke approached him against the wishes of Obi-Wan. The young Skywalker felt a connection with the machine, and Vader revealed that Luke was his son. The Jedi instructed the others to bring medical attention to his father, and Ahsoka rushes off to find a stretcher from the nearby city. As he is helped to his feet, Windu and Obi-Wan do not lose their focus, keeping their lightsabers ignited and pointing them in his direction, wary that this was a form of Sith manipulation. Once Ahsoka had returned, they re-enter the Imperial shuttle, and Windu commands Vader to tell them location of Palpatine. Eager to get rid of his suit, and the torture his master had subjected him to since his fall to the dark side, he muttered to the former Jedi that Palpatine had lured the rebels into a trap before falling out of consciousness. Ahsoka quickly relays a signal to the rebel cells and Bail Organa, but their silence did nothing to dispel their fears. Eventually, they find the battle station, scarring the galaxy with his vulgarity, and in front of it, they were confronted with an entire fleet. With no sign of what had happened to the Rebel Alliance, Luke guided the ship into the firing line of the Imperial fleet, and they began to weave their way through. Like his father, Luke was a naturally gifted pilot, and he guided them into the hangar with little damage to their shuttle. Upon landing, Luke and Ahsoka head back to the Imperial fleet, taking TIE fighters from the hangar, in their bid to rescue the rebels, leaving Obi-Wan and Windu to tackle Palpatine. The Sith Lord is calmly seated atop his throne, and turned from observing the fleet to facing Obi-Wan and Windu. Looking at Windu, Palpatine was somewhat impressed at how he had survived his injuries, but this time he would ensure there was no survival. The Sith Lord sent a massive wave of Sith lightning, and Obi-Wan is sent back into a wall, whilst Windu defended from the attack and pushed forwards. Walking slowly to Palpatine, the Sith Lord realised that Windu had not lost any of his Force abilities, and ignites his blades. Breaking the glass behind him, Palpatine depressurises the room, and they hang on to nearby pillars, until Palpatine is sent flying into space by a Force push from Obi-Wan and Windu. Watching Palpatine's body explode in a cloud of black smoke, they stagger back to the hangar, and to their relief, the rebels have been rescued. Reconvening on Bail Organa's ship, Windu had finally redeemed himself for his initial failure to defeat the Sith. That is it for What If Mace Windu survived and trained Ahsoka. If you enjoyed this What If, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, subscribe to this channel, and my other channel What If Films for more What Ifs. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.